Give you guys a chance to get into the chat. Let me know if y'all can hear me. And then we can get started. All right, perfect. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is your boy Fitz on TV here, aka G-Lauren33. I'm back here today with another video on the channel for you guys. And tonight, we are talking WWE Elimination Chamber 2023. And we're also going to be talking about Mercedes versus Kari from Battle in the Valley. So, a little bit of a double review for you guys. And I don't want to make this a super long, like 2.5 hour stream, but you guys know once I get rolling, we could be here all night. But either way, I just want to say thank you guys for joining me on the channel. I hope you guys are having a good weekend. It's a long weekend for most, as I'm recording this on a Sunday, and most of you guys will have tomorrow off because it's President's Day. So I hope you guys are having some fun and enjoying your long weekend, making some fun plans. I know a lot of other people are, starting their February break from school. So hope you guys are all having a good time. But yeah, thank you for taking some time and joining me on the podcast. I didn't know how I wanted to do this because I was thinking about doing a review last night, but then I was out with some friends and I got home late. I still caught the end of Elimination Chamber. I caught the Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn match, and then I watched Mercedes versus Kari. And then I didn't know, based on how my day went today, I didn't know if I was going to do one separate video on Mercedes and Kari and do another separate video on the Elimination Chamber, or do it all in one. What I'm doing here, you guys are going to get my thoughts on both Mercedes versus Kari and the Elimination Chamber in this video, and I'm probably gonna do a whole separate video in the next couple of days, kind of as a follow-up to what happened with Mercedes versus Kari. I know a lot of you guys are gonna want that. But yeah, so it's good, and it's gonna be a little bit of a crazy start to the week on the channel. You're getting tonight's stream. I'm planning most likely to have a Dragon Ball Super manga video tomorrow. And probably I'll have a Monday Night Raw review as well, and then the Mercedes versus Kari video later in the week, and then we'll see what else happens. But that's the game plan as of right now. Of course, that could always change. I've been changing my mind so much as of late when it comes to videos, but that's the plan as of right now. But I don't want to waste any time. Let's get into it. So we're gonna start off talking about Mercedes versus Kari, and then we'll get into the Elimination Chamber. But I will flat out say out of the gate, if you are a fan of professional wrestling, you won last night. I know last night the only other big things happening really in the world of sports were the return of the XFL, right, and All-Star Saturday Night for the NBA, which I was watching with my friends, and it was all right. It wasn't anything crazy this year. But that Mac from the Sixers, who saved the dunk contest, the white man that can jump, and Damian Lillard winning the 3-point contest were the big highlights of that. And then you had Elimination Chamber going on. But last night, of course, Elimination Chamber was the big event. And, of course, New Japan Battle in the Valley, which actually started a little bit late. The show was supposed to start, I believe, around 10 p.m., which is, I think, 7 p.m. Western time, because the show was taking place in San Jose. So it was, West Coast time. But the show got a little bit delayed, so it started around 10:30-ish. But, really, you got the Elimination Chamber, which was a really good show, right? Which everyone expected it to be, with an amazing main event, which is going to be hard to top all year. And then you got New Japan. And I know not everybody watches New Japan, but of course, there was more of a spotlight on New Japan because of Sasha Banks, aka now Mercedes MONE, and her making her debut against Kari Sane. And a lot of people were wondering, like, one time where Match B would be taking place during the Elimination Chamber. Lucky Elimination Chamber ended around 11 o'clock Eastern time, a little bit after that. And then Mercedes' match came on around a little after 12. So I maybe actually won. I don't know, but it started much later. So some of you guys, stayed up for it, like me. Other people watched it earlier today. And of course, this was big for so many reasons. Mercedes bet on herself, right? She could have stayed in WWE. She could have returned to WWE after everything that happened with her and Naomi. They were willing to, give her a contract, even though it wasn't the contract she wanted. And, of course, I'm not going to get into that because I do think they lowballed her a lot. But she was at least willing to go back. But then she decided to bet on herself and then let her contract expire at the start of the year and then decide to go to New Japan. Something that is rarely done, especially when we're talking about a woman superstar, right? But Mercedes bet on herself. She bet on her brand. She bet on her career and made the jump to New Japan, which was already one of the biggest things of the year. Somebody of her stature in the wrestling industry as a woman's wrestler to go from WWE, the number one wrestling company in the world, to New Japan was, a shocking move in itself. She goes to New Japan. She did, she makes her first appearance at Wrestle Kingdom, right? Confronting Kari, and then it was announced right afterwards that at February 18th, the Battle in the Valley in San Jose, her and Kari would go toe-to-toe for the IWGP Women's Championship, and we were all excited right away. And a testament to what Mercedes brand is that she was able to sell out the show. Her and Kari were able to sell out the show in a matter of days. I know they advertised it as a co-main event, right, with her versus Kari, and then they had Okada wrestling wrestling in the main event, which made it feel like a big show. But if we're being honest, it was because of Mercedes. Mercedes has one of the biggest fan groups in the world, the Crew. I'm part of that, as you guys know. And they sold out the show in a matter of just days, especially because it was in San Jose. It was on U.S. soil. Of course, yes, New Japan shows are nowhere close to as big as an AEW or WWE show. New Japan is known for Japanese wrestling, all right? And so, like, the arena was only about, I believe, 3,000 or 4,000 people. But the fact is, they were able to sell that out in 3-4 days. And everyone knew that it was because of Mercedes and Kari, because they didn't announce Okada being on the show till a little bit later on, till a couple weeks afterwards. So Mercedes and Kari were literally able by themselves to sell out that show. And that's a testament to Mercedes' brand and how powerful she is. And this match has been hyped up for the last 2 months since she made her debut or made her first appearance at Wrestle Kingdom. But it was, all the questions were coming all over the place. Mercedes being away from the ring for 9 whole months, right? Or nearly a year. Her being a fantastic wrestler that she was in WWE, right? How much ring rust would she had? The way New Japan operates and the way WWE operates is two completely different things. Yes, at the end of the day, it's professional wrestling, but how would she adapt to a Japanese wrestling style? So many questions, and the haters coming out of left and right field. Everybody, having their own opinion here. I've always said Mercedes, no matter if it was WWE or now New Japan, I've always said Mercedes is the best female wrestler in the world, right? And I told you guys this will just be another example of her proving that. Going from another company, from WWE to New Japan, and having a banger like she had with Kari last night is another testament to how great Mercedes truly is. She is the best female wrestler in the world. I guarantee you there's probably not going to be any match all year in women's wrestling, whether it's WWE or AEW, that's going to top what Mercedes and Kari did last night. It was 30 minutes. I don't remember what Sasha's longest match in WWE is. I want to say it's a little bit over 20 minutes, if I'm right. It's either, I'm thinking, your Sasha versus Bailey, maybe Sasha versus Bianca, but Sasha's probably longest match is probably like 24 minutes. If you're not counting like the Iron Woman's match and something like that, but still, it was rare in WWE for Sasha to wrestle over, 25 minutes. This match with Kari went almost 30. Nearly, it went like 28 minutes. I had the stopwatch going. Went nearly 30 minutes, and it was 30 minutes of greatness. I saw little to no ring rust from Mercedes. Right, of course, she's been training in Japan and Mexico, but still, there's nothing like being actually on that stage in front of the world with the cameras and the people there. And she absolutely delivered. Her and Kari gave out a complete banger. And the thing about it is, the day after, right, today, everyone, you think people would be talking about Roman and Sami and what they did at Elimination Chamber. People were talking just as much about Mercedes and Kari for what they did. And what they did was truly, truly special. Really. People were buying that pay-per-view just to see Mercedes back in the ring, to see if she would deliver. And she absolutely did on every single level. It was beautiful to see. Beautiful. So I'll get into a couple of the specifics here. Anyway, I'm getting text messages during this, but I see Ricky says Mercedes Monet versus Kari was a good match. No, bro, it wasn't just a good match. It was a fantastic match. It was the women's match of the year. Honestly. So, Mercedes came out, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of her entrance theme. Right? It is what it is. I'm not gonna complain about it too much. It's not as good as Sky's the Limit or the Snoop Dogg thing from WWE, right? Of course, it's cool to see she has her own vocals on it, right? And the beat is a little bit catchy, but it's not an amazing theme at the end of the day. I don't want to come out as I'm hating, because you guys know I love Mercedes, but it's just not my favorite theme, I know it's like 2 minutes of the Mercedes theme, and then it transitions into like a trap style beat, which is cool, but it's not my favorite theme. But while she was making her entrance, they had dancers out there, doing their thing, and they danced for about a minute, and then all of a sudden, Mercedes comes out. She got a amazing pop. Clearly, there was videos all over Twitter of people reacting to her coming out. There was tons of people wearing Mercedes t-shirts. Those shirts have been doing amazing on Pro Wrestling Tees. And I do want to get, I have so many wrestling shirts. Like, I'm wearing my Bloodline one right now. But I have so many, I'm kind of trying not to buy as many, because I don't wear them that often. I only really wear my wrestling shirts when I'm going like either to a show or when I'm doing a review, right? But and I have I have like 3 or 4 Sasha shirts. So I've been trying to buy less wrestling shirts, but last night I see everyone wearing there's 2 specific designs of the Mercedes shirts that I love. It's the first one's the one of her on like on a bill, on like a dollar bill. And it's just like money, right? Mercedes money. And I like that because I love wearing black now. I love black tees. And the other one was the one of her. It says Mercedes runs the world, and it's her like sitting on a globe pointing. So I probably will eventually get one of or not, both of those shirts, but those shirts look fire. It was so cool to see everybody in the crowd. There was a lot of people, a majority of that crowd last night was wearing Mercedes shirts, and they had signs and everything. She was who the people came to go for. I was actually even considering potentially going to the show. I decided not to, but there was a lot of people I knew that went to that show. Of course, you gotta remember, a Japanese wrestling show is different than an American show, even though this show was on U.S. soil. But yeah, when she came out, she got an epic reaction. People before the show even started were chanting Mercedes, Mercedes. She had an epic reaction, epic crowd reception. Her gear was inspired by, I believe, Hanukkah Shora, if I'm saying her name correctly, which was a Japanese wrestler that I believe passed away last year. So Mercedes was paying tribute to her. And Mercedes' entrance was great. She had this mask on and everything. I will say, at first I didn't. It took a little bit for the attire to grow on me because I'm so used to her WWE, ring gear, and I love her legit boss ring gear. I could probably do a whole podcast ranking my favorite Sasha Banks ring gears, but it did grow on me a little bit. She also did have the new wig, which it did. Mercedes did struggle to keep the wig on during the match. Kari almost snatched it off at some point. So whoever installed Mercedes' wig, you gotta do better because that thing almost came off like 2 or 3 different times. But yeah, but yeah, she came out looking like a boss, and of course, I was super excited for it. Kyrie's theme was great as well. Kyrie, I love her entrance. It's a mix of her WWE theme, but also like a Japanese, cruise like ship battle scene. It's like something kind of out of One Piece. It reminds me of, if you guys have seen the One Piece anime. But I loved, Kyrie's music, and you could tell this was the match everybody was waiting for. This should have honestly just been the actual main event. But of course, when they had Okada on that show, but this was the main event in in the eyes of many. And Mercedes and Kyrie came out of the botch. And the thing is, Mercedes played a tweener role. Like, she played mainly babyface, but she did, when she was very aggressive, and she did have a little bit of heel in her, but she played mainly the babyface role for the most part. And Kyrie, of course, is a babyface as well, But they went at it. They went at it right away. This was physical, and it was like so many cool Easter eggs. I watched the English commentary. I do want to go back and watch and take a listen to the Japanese commentary at some point. But what was really cool is they had this normal commentator, and it looked like they had Aiden English. If you guys remember Aiden English, he from WWE. Remember, he was the guy that used to always sing in the ring. And remember, he was also like teaming up with Rusev for a time. And I believe Aiden English went to Impact, and then now he's commentating on New Japan, which is good for him. He did a really good job of listing off Sasha's accomplishments, what she did in WWE, right? And they mentioned most of what Sasha did. Where, of course they kept some things out because I guess they want to be careful of copyright and all that. But yeah, they did a good job talking about their history from WWE. And like I said, they went at it. Sasha went for but yeah, Sasha did a bank statement early. I don't know if she has a new name for the submission now. They called it a crossface, which is the actual wrestling, term. But we've always called it the bank statement when Sasha used it. She went for the bank statement early. Kyrie, got out of it, and they went at it. Sasha did her Meteora. She did a lot of her normal moves, but also had a nice mix of other stuff as well. She was very, very aggressive, which was very, very good to see. I did have a worry that Sasha would try to, and like I said, I'm gonna keep making that mistake. It's so hard when you've been calling her Sasha for like the last decade, and now she's using her first name, right, for her new wrestling name. It's a little bit difficult. It's a little bit difficult, but Mercedes, she was very, very aggressive. She didn't do too much heel stuff. But she had a couple moments, but of course the crowd was behind her the whole way. There was a cool back and forth when they were going, Kyrie, Mercedes, let's go, Kyrie, Mercedes. And there was plenty of close spots. Mercedes dominated the first part of the match. Then Kyrie came rolling back, right, and then they just kept going at it. One of my favorite spots of the match, Mercedes, she did her frog splash, which she's always had, probably the best frog splash out of anybody in the women's division in WWE, and her frog splash is still perfect now. She also did the Bailey the belly suit with suplex, which was amazing to see. And remember, I know Bailey was in attendance, so Bailey was there. Bailey was not at the Elimination Chamber. She wasn't. She didn't have a match on the show, but she did the Bailey the Belly suplex. Bailey was there. I know Tamina was there. I know Naomi was there. Another big name. They had CM Punk there, which was cool to see. There was photos going around of CM Punk walking around the arena. And it was cool because, CM Punk loves Japanese wrestling, and he is actually a big fan of Mercedes. He said that in interviews, and he said that on WWE Backstage. CM Punk also defended when Sasha and Naomi walked out of WWE. So, yes, and we know CM Punk is a big fan of Mercedes, which was cool just to see that he was there at the show. But, yeah, Kari did a lot of her normal stuff. She went for the insane elbow, but Mercedes blocked it. There was a part of the match where the ref got taken out, and you got to remember, in New Japan, it's a 20 count. It's not a 10 count like here. It's a 20 count. But the ref got taken out, and then Mercedes and Kari went up the ramp, going at one another, and crazy spot. Kari powerbomb Mercedes through a table, which looked beautiful. The way the table broke, it just snapped perfectly. One thing that I miss about watching Mercedes wrestle is her selling ability. She is amazing when it comes to selling moves. And I miss that. She sold perfectly for Kari. It doesn't matter if it's a women's championship match or your normal tag team match. It doesn't matter if she's facing the women's champion or if she's facing a jobber. Mercedes will sell. She will sell her ass off for you. So they got back in the ring, and I don't remember every single detail. I want to go back and rewatch it, but they went back and forth with submissions, big statements, everything, and eventually, I know Mercedes, she did the triple suplex for tribute to Eddie Guerrero. She even did the little shimmy, which she usually didn't do in WWE, but she did the Three Amigos. And she won the match with that. If you guys remember her new move, so Mercedes finally has an actual fitness move that outside of the big statement, right? She has an actual finishing move. And remember when they first did that move back at Wrestle Kingdom, Kari didn't sell it too well. It was a botch. Well, they nailed it perfectly tonight. Kari perfectly sold it, and Mercedes got the win. 1, 2, 3. Even though it was likely that Mercedes was gonna win this match, she was favored to win it going into it. Excuse me. It's you got unfortunately you got used to seeing Sasha not win big matches here and there in WWE. She was booked so inconsistently over when Vince was in charge. It was so good to see her win a match that she was supposed to win. Right? You can go down the list for so many years. All the matches that Mercedes should have won that she didn't in WWE. The list, from matches against Charlotte back in 2016, matches against Alexa Bliss in 2017. The list just goes on and on. I could say it for hours. I could go year by year and go through every match I believe Sasha should have won. But it was just so happy to see her win a big match that she should have won, that she was favored to win. And to see her win the IWGP Women's title in her first match it's just incredible. I know, of course, that title is a little bit new and it hasn't been along too long, but still, it's amazing to see because you put that title on somebody like Mercedes, the best female wrestler in the world, right? And she once again proved that. It's not Bianca, it's not Asuka, as much as I love them. It's not Becky, it's not Bayley, it's not Charlotte, it's not Kyrie, right? It's Mercedes. And she comes back and she's been gone for 9 months and she proves that. It's just great. To walk into a new company and become their women's champion, to become the face of their division in just one match, that's who Mercedes is. And that's what she should be. She deserves that more than anybody, and it's great to see New Japan treating her the way WWE should have for a decade. I tweeted it out and tweet went viral. I hope there was people from WWE after Elimination Chamber that sat and watched that match. I know Mercedes posted on her Twitter that Triple H and William Regal text her wishing her luck, right? Which is, it makes me happy to see that they care about her still, right? And they're supporting her, even though of course they want her to be in WWE, that they're happy for her, right? And I personally believe, a couple years from now or maybe next year or whenever, right? I don't know the specifics, but I am confident that if Triple H remains in control of creative, Mercedes will come back to WWE eventually. Triple H loves her. William Regal loves her. She's only 30, right? A lot of the other four horsewomen are in their mid to later 30s. So, she's still in her prime. And I definitely think if Triple H is in control, I think she will return one day. But right now, this is a new journey for her. This new journey of her being in New Japan. This new journey of her going around the world and, putting women's wrestling on the map in a different way. Not just doing that in the number one wrestling company in the world. She's doing that in Japan, in a new company, and this brings more eyes to New Japan than ever. I cannot wait to look at the stats of the actual pay-per-view itself and see how many buys did the pay-per-view get compared to past New Japan American pay-per-views, right? We already talked about how much the pay-per-view itself sold, in terms of the people that were actually at the show, right? How they sold out the show in a matter of 3 or 4 days. But now the excitement of how did that relate in terms of pay-per-view buys? Because like I said, when we say that Mercedes is a draw, she is insanely a draw. She is a draw, and and that's just an amazing feeling, to see her, see that reflected. And I'm 100% so happy for her. She deserves it. And like I said, I hope WWE officials see that, because if she does return, I do think she will return one day. In the next couple of years, and when she does, I hope WWE officials see that and treat her with the respect that she deserves, because she is a star. She's not like anybody else. She's not like all the other people in the women's division. She's not, it's even the top people. She's better than all of them. She's the best female wrestler in the world, and that's what you get. That's what you get. Last night is what you get when you treat Mercedes with respect. You give her that type of platform. You give her time to tell a story, right? You put her in the main event. That's what you get. That's the result every time. 9 months. 9 months she was gone. 9 fucking months. And she comes back in her first match back. Not her second, not her third, not her fourth. Her first match back in nearly a year. She gives you the match of the year for the woman. Women's wrestling match of the year. Yeah, and that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. I'm so happy for her. I'm glad she got that moment. Wrestling in Japan was her dream growing up, and now she's getting to fulfill that dream. Even though I know the show was in Japan, it was in the U.S. She will be defending that title in Japan on Japanese shows. Imagine a year from now at Wrestle Kingdom, right? She might get to defend that title. Who knows? I expect her to hold on to that title all year, but still, she's getting to live her dream now, and now she's, putting women's wrestling on the map in a whole different way, and I'm so happy she gets that opportunity, because she deserves it. No one else deserves it more than her. She is amazing at what she does. Mercedes is legitimately money. I loved how after the match, her and Kari embraced, right? She went to shake Kari's hand. Kari took her hand and went in for a hug. And she celebrated, but she deserved it. Was so happy to see the emotion and the everything on her face. It wasn't even just about her winning the title. It was about everything she bet on herself for to, just to make this moment happen, right? And now she's literally living her dream. And I was so happy for her. And then there was a moment after the Okada match, which, I turned the show off after her match ended. But after the Okada match, I know there were some people that left the arena after, Mercedes' match was over, which Like, I don't know why. I would love to watch Okada live, but still, Okada was in the main event, and Okada won his match, and then Mercedes came out, and now you have the two top champions of New Japan in the ring. And of course, you could put Kenny Omega, but Kenny Omega's in, AEW. But, you have Okada and you have Mercedes in the ring side by side. And it looks like they were teasing like maybe a potential, maybe a mixed tag team match with them teaming up in the future. Which was great, and I know how much Mercedes loves Okada. She loves the Japanese star, so, that's another special moment for her that she got to have. I'm really happy that she got it. But, yeah, and there's not enough good things I could say about it. Credit to Kari. I know Kari's title reign was short, but of course, when you have the best female wrestler in the world entering your division, that just happens, here and there. I don't think Kyrie's going to be angry at all. Kari is amazing. The match was amazing. I believe Kari was wearing one of her old NXT gears, which was really cool to see as a symbol. But, yeah, Kari and Mercedes killed it. Women's match of the year, absolute banger. If you guys haven't seen the match, go back and watch it. It was 30 minutes of greatness. And amazing stuff. Really, really amazing stuff. Go back and, go take a look at that if you guys haven't already. Yeah, great stuff. My friends text me the weirdest stuff. Yeah, let's get into the Elimination Chamber. So yeah, like I said, this is kind of a double review that you guys are getting today. With the Elimination Chamber. Usually I try to do these reviews separate, but I really wanted to talk about Mercedes versus Kari, and I'll probably do another separate video on that. But yeah, Elimination Chamber, the last show before WrestleMania. And like I said, of course, the big thing was the big thing was Roman and Sammy, right? Everybody was in Montreal was hoping, Sammy would win, but if we're being honest with ourselves, it was just not going to happen. This is not a Daniel Bryan versus Edge versus Roman Reigns situation from a couple years ago in the Thunderdome, where we all wanted Daniel Bryan in that match. Even though, of course, Edge won the Rumble, we all wanted Daniel Bryan in that main event, and, it happened, right? This was different. And yes, Sammy, a couple things right off the bat. Sammy established himself as the top guy. If you don't think Sammy's now a main event superstar after that match last night, then you are delusional. He's no longer mid-card Sammy, IC, championship Sammy. He's in that main event scene. He should have always been there. But WWE always had him more in the mid-card, especially when Vince was in control. But, with this last run, with the work that Sammy's done in the last, close to a year, and especially now, and the performance he gave last night, you have no choice. Sammy's a main event guy now. And that's where he should be going forward. He deserves to be there. All right. And, I know when you look at the numbers and you look at how great the ratings have been on SmackDown, like, everything's been fantastic. Everything's been fantastic with the ratings, and SmackDown has been doing like 2.7 to 3 million viewers because of Roman and Sammy's feud, which is fantastic to see. But this is not the year where you change the main event to being Roman versus Sammy versus Cody. This is Roman versus Cody. like it or not. Cody's one of those big name stars that should be the guy to take Roman down. Sammy, as great as Sammy is, right, and that he established himself into a top guy. He's just not the guy who should dethrone Roman. You know, I know, yes, Montreal, and it was like, oh, the crowd environment was similar. You could compare it to John Cena versus RVD in ECW, or you could compare it to CM Punk versus John Cena in Money in the Bank 2011. You can make those comparisons of hostile environments, you know, but but that was unique to Montreal, right? And that's no disrespect to Sammy at all. All I'm saying is, this is about Roman and Cody. It needs to stay Roman and Cody. That's simple. Like I said, if they were going to split the titles up, then all right, then maybe you could have done Roman versus, you could have had Sammy win. Maybe you could have done Roman versus Sammy on night 1 of Mania for one of the titles, right? And then you could do for like the Universal title, and then you do Roman versus Cody on night 2 for the WWE title. But that's not the direction they're going with. It seems like they're going to continue with having one set of world titles, right? And I do think at some point they will split the titles, and you know, probably this year. At some point they're going to have to. There's just too many main event stars on each show, you know. And the big problem, of course, as great as Roman's been, Roman wasn't on Raw enough. He was mainly on SmackDown like every 2 weeks, so there wasn't that spotlight of always having a world champion on Raw. Roman has not been on Raw that often. He's barely been on the show. You're lucky if you get Roman on Raw once a month, right? So, you know, that's the thing. When, you know, if Cody beats Roman at Mania, which is, I think, likely, you know, I don't think it's, 100% certain, but I do think it's more likely than not Cody will beat Roman at Mania. Will Cody be on both shows? Who knows? That's the big thing. You know, it's not really the problem of having a world champion on both shows. It's not really a problem of, you know, splitting the titles up. Even though I think they should have the titles split. I was never really for merging the titles to begin with. The problem to me was having your world champion only on one show. He was on SmackDown 80% of the time and like Raw 20% of the time, you know, which shouldn't be the case. It should be more 50-50, you know, but that's the thing. If you're not going to split the titles up, it didn't make sense for Sammy to win, and it doesn't make sense to make it a triple threat. WrestleMania needs to be about Roman versus Cody. Roman should lose that title in a one-on-one match, not a multi-man match. If Edge or Daniel Bryan had defeated Roman at WrestleMania 2 years ago, the WrestleMania I was at, right, that would have been different because Roman had only held that title for like 6, 7 months at that time. Now he's held that title for 2.5 years. He's had probably the greatest world title run of the modern day era. So, you know, you're not having Roman lose that title in a triple threat. If you're going to have Roman lose, it's going to be in a one-on-one match because you've built Roman up to the level where he's this big final boss that everything has to go right for you to beat him, right? He's the 99 overall 100, you know, the 99 overall boss that is almost impossible to defeat. Not because he's not only a great performer, a great competitor, right? But he also has the element of having people in his corner that you never know when they're gonna interfere, like the Usos and Solo and Paul Heyman. You never know when they're gonna get involved. So he's almost, undefeated. But the text messages I get when I'm recording, bro, it's crazy. Anyway, but yeah, you know, that's the thing. As much as people wanted Sammy to win, and I almost wanted to see Sammy win. The emotion that guy had on his face Like Sami Zayn, the emotion that he expels when he's performing, the way the way he roused you to get the crowd behind him, right? Having his wife in the front row and how the emotions on her face. You wanted to see Sami win, but when you take everything into account, it didn't. It didn't need, it just wasn't the right moment. It just wasn't, you know. And of course, I read something on Twitter that I kind of agree with a lot. Roman, of course, you're getting Roman is gonna face Cody, right? On probably night 2, right? I know everyone wanted Roman versus The Rock, which unfortunately is not happening this year, which is a shame. But yeah, everyone wanted Roman versus The Rock, or there was talks of having Roman defend on both nights. It's most likely that's going to be Roman's going to wrestle one night, right, on night 2. I think what you need to do, it's most likely to be Sami and KO versus the Usos, for the tag titles. I think that should probably be the main event of night 1. I think that's, we were talking about Sami getting that big moment. I think, unless, we don't know if Stone Cold's going to wrestle. We don't know, we're thinking John Cena. It's probably going to be Cena versus Austin Theory, right? But nothing's confirmed as of right now. But depending on how things unfold, I think the way you reward Sami for what he's done, even though it's not a world title reign, right? I think you have him and KO win in the main event of night 1. They've been involved in the best storyline of the modern era. This is not just the best storyline of the year. It's one of the best storylines I've ever seen. And I've been watching wrestling my entire life. I think you reward them by giving them the night 1 main event and the victory. I think that's what you got to do. Sami and KO win against the Usos in night 1 of Mania. At night 1 of Mania, versus the Usos. I think that's what you got to do. But that's just my opinion. Still, that was just my general spirit. The match itself, we'll get into the specifics here in a little bit, but Sami and Roman was everything I expected to be. The crowd was absolutely amazing. The commentary was great. Michael Cole, for all the hate that I've given Michael Cole over the years, he's been amazing during Roman's title reign. Him calling Roman, he's called almost all of Roman's title matches, and he has been fantastic, right? Michael Cole, he plays a very important element to Roman's title reign. Seriously, when you look at like the Attitude Era and Stone Cold, The Rock, right, Kurt Angle, Undertaker, the faces of the Attitude Era. You think of JR and all of his calls, right? All the insane moments, Stone Cold, Stone Cold, Stone Cold, The Rock is WWF champion, right? You think about all those moments. JR was a part of them. JR was as essential in those moments because of the energy and the passion he brought on commentary, right? Than the wrestlers. He was just as important. Michael Cole has been amazing during Roman's title run, and I don't know if that's just because of Pat McAfee and and he has good chemistry with Corey Graves as well. But Michael has been amazing. Highlighting the stats. All the accolades and all the moments that Roman's had as champion. How he almost loses his voice in every single Roman Reigns title defense. It's amazing. So I'll give Michael Cole, his credit. The commentary was fantastic. The match itself, Roman's come so far in the last couple of years. Like JD from New York, from NY tweeted, Roman a couple of years ago, right? Back when he was a babyface and when he was the big dog. In a moment like that, in that kind of environment, Roman might have gotten nervous. We know I don't have that much confidence that Roman would be able to deliver in that moment. But Roman now, this reign, his evolution of his character, the evolution of himself as a performer has grown so much in the last 3 years that, like he goes into that environment where he's getting "fuck you, Roman" chants the entire match, and it just enhances his performance. He just absolutely, just goes in there and he's like, "Phew." Like, this is nothing to me. All right, yo, like, y'all want to chant me? F you? All right, bet. This gives me the motivation to give you another 5-star banger. Right? Roman was fantastic here. And then, of course, Sammy feeding off the home energy as the star of the night. Everything was perfect, right? And then the interferences by the Usos. I know Solo wasn't involved, but the Usos and then KO, everything was done perfectly, in my opinion. I know some people are going to complain about the ending of the match because it makes you want to see then a rematch, right? But, they weren't going to end the match via disqualification, right? Like, how else were they going to end the match? If you end the match versus DQ, they would have rioted, right? We all knew Roman we all knew Roman wasn't going to lose. So what else were you going to do? You got to kind of do a fuck finish in a way. You got to do a little bit of a fuck finish, and maybe down the line after Roman is no longer champion, maybe eventually Sammy will get his win back, right? Sammy will get another chance at Roman down the line. That's my hope, right? Because I say this all the time. When Roman loses that title eventually, I expect Roman to leave for a little bit, take a little bit of a vacation, right? And then when he comes back, I think it's time for Roman to put people over the way that everyone's put him over the last 2.5 years, So maybe down the line, Sammy will get that win back, but I'm not mad at the finish of that match because how else were you going to end it? The ending protects Sammy. Roman keeps his title, right? Both men look fine coming out of it. And it also sets the stage more for WrestleMania. So I don't have any real complaints. I don't know why people were so mad over the finish. Like, you knew Sammy wasn't winning. How else were they supposed to do that? But, that's my little, I don't know, my little spiel here. But getting into the actual pay-per-view, right? That's just uh, my little opening rant. Let's talk about the other stuff. Frank keeps texting me the weirdest stuff. But we're gonna get into the rest of the Elimination Chamber. The night opened up with the Women's Elimination Chamber match for a shot at the Raw Women's title and Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. You had Natalya, Nikki Cross, Carmella, Raquel Rodriguez, Asuka, and Liv Morgan. But we had the this was, I would say this, both chamber matches were really good last night. Elimination Chamber matches are one of my favorite matches. I love the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. I love the Elimination Chamber match. I love it. When I play WWE 2K with my friends, that's my favorite match to play. I just love it how it's an elimination match, right? I love the concept of the chamber and all the crazy stuff that can happen in it. It's one of my favorite matches. And both Elimination Chamber matches last night were really good, especially the men's one. The men's one was amazing, but the women, they stood out as well. Of course, the men can do more than the women. They can be a little more physical, so there's not too much of a surprise. But both chamber matches were really, really good. But yeah, but Liv Morgan started the match off with Natalya, who's from Canada herself. And here's my thing with Liv Morgan. I love Liv Morgan, right? And you're noticing this thing where she keeps coming up short, right? She was one of the last eliminated in the Women's Royal Rumble. She was one of the last eliminated. It took 2 women, to make her tap out tonight. Or she didn't even tap out. She fell unconscious and she was smiling. They have this thing where Liv comes all so close, right? I'm thinking that Liv's gonna. My prediction right now, I think Liv will have another title reign before the end of the year. I do think Liv will have another, some sort of title reign before, no matter if it's the Raw or SmackDown. I think she will win another women's title before the end of the year, man. Because she's a fan favorite. The fans love her, and she's gotten so much better. She's become one of the best in the entire company at women's wrestling. And I don't think that's a hot take. If you've seen how much Liv has improved, in just the last year. Now, I'm not going to even say the last couple of years. Say the last year alone, she has become incredible to watch. Like, she did a sunset flip powerbomb on Raquel Rodriguez from the top of the chamber. She jumped off the top of the chamber and did the sunset flip powerbomb, and Raquel was on the top rope, which was absolutely you have to understand how crazy it looks great on TV, but you have to understand the degree of difficulty to land something like that is insane. It's insane. If Liv's not careful, she can tear her, she can, her knee could give out easily, right? She could hurt herself horrendously, but she did. That spot was amazing, and she just continues to get better every single time she's in the ring, and she's grown into one of the best performers. I think on a weekly basis. But her and Natalya started this off. Then Raquel Rodriguez came in third. Then they had Nikki Cross. Nikki Cross is funny. I love Nikki, how crazy Nikki Cross is. Nikki had her ring jacket on the entire time, right? Then she comes screaming out of the pod, and then she's just going absolutely wild. I love wild Nikki Cross. That they had Carmella come out fifth. Carmella's good in the ring, but I understand that you always need to have that snibbly, snobby, always trying to be sneaky, right? Carmella, she'll come in, she'll do a couple moves, and then she'll run and try to hide in the chamber. I don't like that, but I understand it, but it does bother me a little bit. And of course, Asuka came out last. Asuka was the favorite going in. And Asuka is this new version of Asuka with the painted face, reminiscing of her Murder Clown days. It's great to see. Asuka feels like she's almost been reborn. But yeah, the match was great. The Liv Morgan sunset flip powerbomb. Nikki Cross did a crossbody on everybody. Raquel's, she was the powerhouse. She had some very good, powerful moments where she was picking up like 2 women at one time. Asuka going crazy on Carmella. So Carmella was talking crap when Asuka was in the pod, and then Asuka came out last and came running at Carmella, absolutely decimating her. This was great. But yeah, but Asuka was really good. I'm trying to look at my notes here, see if there's anything else. For the most part, yeah, Liv Morgan took 2 people to make her tap out. Or she didn't really tap out, she just faded. Raquel Rodriguez eliminated Nikki Cross when she, I think she threw Nikki Cross out of a pod, right? Yeah, she threw Nikki Cross out through one of the pods and pinned Nikki. Carmella, I forget. I think Carmella eliminated Natty with a super kick. And then the final 2 were Asuka and Carmella. And then Asuka got Carmella in the Asuka lock, and that was that. That was the end of Carmella's WrestleMania dream. Now Asuka's going to WrestleMania to face Bianca Belair, which is the right match, right? I think everyone wanted Rhea Ripley to pick Bianca, but then it kind of made sense when Rhea Ripley explained why she was going after Charlotte. Rhea Ripley, this new version of Rhea Ripley, who's gotten so much better in the last 2 years. Actually 3 years, right? The Rhea Ripley from 3 years ago is not the same Rhea Ripley now. And so now Rhea Ripley going after Charlotte makes sense from a story standpoint. So then when you looked at the Raw landscape and who Bianca could face, there was only two people I could really think of. And that was the leader, Liv Morgan or Asuka. And Asuka, of course, is probably the better match. So now we're getting Asuka versus Bianca Belair now for the Raw Women's Championship at Mania. So Bianca gets her third straight title match at WrestleMania. You got to think about it now. Remember, so Bianca's had it made for her. Her first WrestleMania a couple years ago, she got to face the greatest women's wrestler of all time in Sasha Banks at the main event where she won the SmackDown Women's title. Then last year at WrestleMania, she got to go up against Becky Lynch and win the Raw Women's title, which she hasn't lost. Bianca's now held that title for a whole year. So now she's defending that title against Asuka. I don't think Bianca's winning. I'll say that. Bianca's had 2 WrestleMania moments the last 2 years where she's won championships, right? I think this is for Asuka. You've repackaged Asuka a little bit where her theme's mainly the same but a little bit different. You've given her, the painted face, right? The shorter hair. And you guys gotta remember, Asuka's never won a WrestleMania match. See, remember, she lost to Rhea Ripley 2 years ago when she was Raw Women's Champion. She lost to Charlotte at WrestleMania 30. And I might be forgetting a match or two, but Asuka's never won a WrestleMania match. We talked about how Sasha never won a singles match in her WWE time, right? Until last year when she finally won at WrestleMania with Naomi. Asuka's, one of the all-time greats, has never won a WrestleMania match. And Asuka's done everything. She's a two-time, right? If I'm right, she's a 2-time Raw Women's Champion, I believe. It's either 2 or 3 times, but 2-time Raw Women's Champion, 1-time SmackDown Women's Champion, NXT Champion. She's won Money in the Bank. She's won the Royal Rumble. Now she's won the Elimination Chamber. She's done basically everything that, a woman could do. She's won the tag titles 3 times, right? She's a first ballot Hall of Famer easily, And it's crazy. You list off all those accolades, right? You've listed off almost everything that Asuka's done. And some would say she still has been used correctly for some time on the main roster, But still, Asuka's had a damn Hall of Fame worthy career, and she still has never won a WrestleMania match. This has to be the year. Asuka is a little bit older. I believe Asuka's 38, 39, if I'm right. But you don't know how many more WrestleManias Asuka's gonna have in her. So, you gotta start thinking, if I'm Asuka, this has to be it. I have to win at WrestleMania this year. It's one of the only things I haven't done. Bianca doesn't need the win. I think this is more about Asuka. And you think about it, Asuka's been in WWE way longer than Bianca. But, Asuka's the one who has to win this match. Bianca's had the title for a year. She's been a decent champion, right? I think this is more about Asuka than it is about Bianca winning. So you asking me right now who I'm rolling with and who's gonna win? I'm going with Asuka at Mania, but it should be a hell of a match. Bianca versus Asuka is one of the best matches you can do in the entire women's division. So I think those two are gonna absolutely kill it, and I think Bianca is gonna drop that title, and Asuka's gonna get her first WrestleMania victory. That's what I predict is gonna happen at WrestleMania. But we'll see. But like I said, that's my prediction as of right now. We had Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. There was no stipulations. This was a normal one-on-one match, but this was the 3rd time in a year that these two have faced off. If you guys remember, at the Rumble last year, we had Brock versus Bobby for the WWE title, and Brock won that thanks to Roman's interference. And then they had the rematch at Crown Jewel earlier, a couple months ago, where Brock won barely. And then this was their 3rd match. But this was kind of a disappointment, if I'm being honest. There's, of course, it was two heavyweights going at it, and it was physical, but it was very, very short, and it was mainly, for the most part, just finishers being spammed. And you get this a lot with Brock. There's are the matches where here and there, you do get an actual fight, which is great to see. But there are matches here and there where Brock just spams finishers. You've seen it with The Undertaker. You've seen it with Goldberg. You've seen it with matches against Roman Reigns. Now you've seen it with Lashley, right? And I'm probably missing a couple, but this was just mainly finishers. Mainly finishers for the most part. Lashley hit like 2 spears on Brock. Brock kicked out, and Brock hit like 2 F5s, right? But then, Bobby was able to get the hurt lock. Or no, Bobby hit another spear on Lesnar, and then he got Brock into the hurt lock, and then Brock low blowed him. Brock low blowed him to get out of the hurt lock, and it caused a DQ, which was disappointing, and afterwards, which doesn't make any sense, Brock got mad because he got DQ'd. He decided to F5 Lashley twice, right? F5'd him through the announce table, and then he F5'd the referee once, and then F5'd him again outside the ring. And based on what I've heard and read from the dirt sheets, the second F5 was unplanned, which was kind of wild, But yeah, the second F5 was unplanned, which, it was like, whoa. Remember at the Rumble when Lesnar lost his mind there, he did one of those F5s. I think he shoved the referee, and that was unplanned. And now he's doing it again on another show. I know Brock is Brock, and it's hard to stop him, but I don't know, man. You can't just let Brock just F5 people whenever he wants. These referees are not wrestlers. They don't have the bodies, and that has to be a lot more painful on them than it is on a wrestler. But that's just me trying to defend the ref. But it seems like this probably looks like it might be unfinished, right? With WrestleMania on the horizon, I know a lot of us want potentially like Brock versus Gunther. I know Bray Wyatt said on SmackDown that whoever wins this match, needs to run. Kind of saying like, oh, he's gonna come after the winner, which is, I guess, technically Bobby, since Bobby won via DQ. But I don't know. If this is something that continues into WrestleMania, or, well, I don't know, right? Because it doesn't feel like there's an end to it. A DQ doesn't seem like a satisfying way to end the feud, and the match itself was underwhelming, and that's me putting it nicely. I don't know what to say. I don't know. The match was disappointing. I don't know why. Well, this is supposed to be the trifecta, right? The third match, the one that ends it all. I would think that these two would want to go and give us an absolute banger, right? This was a feud that we wanted for years, but they get something like that, it makes me almost not want to see the match again. At this point, I'm almost like kind of over it. I don't know if the low blow was just to extend the feud into WrestleMania. I don't know what the plan is, right? But like I said, I don't know what they do from going from here. We'll just have to wait and see. But I was disappointed in the match. I was disappointed. I wanted to see Bobby like win clean. The end of the feud. I feel like Bobby needs to win way more than Brock does, but still, I don't know. Truth be told, I don't know what to think. This was disappointing. Kind of disappointing. So we'll see where it goes from here. But yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the match itself, and I was definitely not a fan of the how the match ended. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where they go from here. But moving on. Moving on, we had Edge and Beth Phoenix versus Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley. This has been a feud that's been going on, what, 6, 7 months now. This, of course, started all the way back when Finn, Damian, and Rhea first booted Edge out of Judgment Day. This is carried over basically most of last year and now into this year. And this was kind of like the final, the coup de grace of the feud itself. And of course, Edge came out. His entrance was electrifying. Of course, everyone was singing his theme song, which is always great to see. On this day, I do hope I get to go to a WWE show, because a lot of us believe, or Edge has teased that he might actually retire at the end of the year, for good this time. So I don't know. I would love to go to a WWE show and then get to sing Edge's entrance theme live. But yeah, the Montreal crowd. Remember, Edge is from Canada. I believe so. So yeah, seeing the crowd sing Edge's theme was electrifying. It got me hyped, and this was really good. This was a very, very fun mixed tag match. Half the time they were chanting "Fuck you, Dominic." The heel heat that Dominic gets is unreal, unreal. I love it personally. Me personally, I love it. I'm not the biggest Dominic guy either, but it's just hilarious how people literally don't like this guy. They literally don't like this guy. It would be funny because I expect at Mania for it to be Ray versus Dominic. That's what it should be. Those two have been feuding longer than this feud has been going on with Judgment Day. But at WrestleMania, hopefully, it would be funny to see if the entire stadium just chanting "Fuck you, Dominic." That would be amazing to see, like 80,000 people chanting "Fuck you, Dominic." But still, this was really, really fun. Really, really fun. One of my favorite things, of course, was seeing Beth and Rhea go at it. Like that, this whole feud really. Rhea and Beth haven't gone at they've had their interactions and they had their brawls, but they've never went at it in the ring during an actual match 1-on-1. And that was great to see. They were doing tests of strengths, going at each other. That was really, really cool to see. I think that was probably my favorite part of the match, is seeing this interaction between Beth and Rhea Ripley. I love Rhea, and Beth was great as well. Those two just going at it was great. So I do think if Rhea should defeat Charlotte at Mania. That should 100% happen. I do think WWE should consider, during Rhea's title reign, they should consider doing a Rhea versus Beth 1-on-1 match. Just 1-on-1, just those two. Now that this feud is over, they should just do like a Beth and Rhea 1-on-1 match. I would love to see that. For the most, Beth and Rhea carried most of this match. Edge and Balor came in a little bit later, which of course Dominic got involved. There was a spot where Dominic tried to get in, the ref was stopping, but he threw like brass rings at Rhea. Then they almost won the match because Rhea hit Edge with the brass rings. But Edge was able to kick out. There was also another cool spot where both Edge and Finn were fighting on the top rope, and then Beth and Rhea came in. Beth powerbombed Finn, and Rhea powerbombed Edge, which really was cool. That shows how powerful those two are, because remember, Edge and Finn, they're both well over 200 pounds each. So to see that was really, really cool. But yeah, so near the end, Phoenix hit Ripley with a grand slam on the floor, right? Because Ripley tried to hit a concerto on Beth on the steel steps, but Beth got out of the way, then hit her with the grand slam. And then Edge was able to hit Finn with a spear. And then to finish off, they did the Shatter Machine, shout out to FTR. And then they were able to get the win. So, This could be, and one thing that we got to think about is, we got to think about what most of these people are gonna do at Mania. Mania is 2 nights, so there'll be a good chance for all of them to get on the card. But Elimination Chamber ended some feuds. Unless they want to do Brock versus Bobby 4 at Mania, what does Brock and Bobby do? They chose not to do those matches. What do you do? With people like Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Carmella, Nikki Cross, Natalia. What do they do at Mania? Do you throw them into a battle royal? Do you put them in a potential tag team title match? Even though right now it looks like it's going to be Ronda and Shayna versus Damage Control for the tag titles. That's the rumored match right now. Like, what do you do with a lot of these women going into Mania? You gotta ask, since it looks like this feud is finally done, like, unless they want to do Edge versus Finn, which they could easily do. They could easily do that. If you choose not to, what do you do? What does Finn do at Mania? What does Edge do? Right? Those are both two men that deserve 100% to be on the card. So, what do you do with them at Mania? These are things we gotta start thinking about now. If these feuds if this feud is really done between Damage Control, or not Damage Control, Judgment Day and Edge and Beth Phoenix, which it should be based on what we saw last night. What do you do with them going to WrestleMania? Stuff you got. If you have any ideas, put it in the chat or in the comment section. Let me know. But it is stuff that we should start thinking about as WrestleMania is now. Like they said, we got plenty of time. Like, we got 5 weeks away, but 5-6 weeks left. But the stuff we got to consider. It is important to note that Edge did so Austin Theory, he did retain the United States Championship, and then on his press conference afterwards, he called out John Cena, right? Which of course is the rumored match. Cena is right now they're hoping Cena will compete, but there has been some reports that could be up in the air. There's a chance that maybe that match doesn't happen, right? But we'll see. But Austin Theory did issue an open challenge for the United States Championship on Raw Monday night, and Edge already accepted it. It's in Ontario, Canada, where he hasn't wrestled in nearly 2 decades. But Edge did, so maybe if they don't have John Cena at Mania, Edge versus Austin Theory for the U.S. title is something that I think nobody would complain about. But like I said, we'll have to wait and see on that. But moving on, speaking of the United States Championship, next up we had the men's Elimination Chamber match for the U.S. title. Austin Theory defending his title against Seth Rollins, Bronson Reed, Montez Ford, Johnny Gargano, and Damian Priest. And this was a lot of fun. Like I said, both of the chamber matches were really, really good. Even though I'll give a slight advantage to the men, but that's no disrespect to the women at all. Both matches were great, but the men's one was a lot of fun. Yeah, and the thing is, like, all 6 men really, really did their thing. Austin Theory has evolved a lot as a performer. It's he's come a long way, and now he's no longer a joke. He's really a badass, respectable heel character. And you had Corey Graves on commentary. Really, I know you guys are asking what I'm doing. I got this knot stuck in my hair that I'm trying to get out of. But I had Corey Graves on commentary, really hyping up this forever reign for Austin Theory as United States champion. You had Seth Rollins, of course, like the star of the match itself. You had Damian Priest, the hard hitter, Bronson Reed, kind of as like the dark horse. You had Johnny Gargano, who speaks for himself. And then you had Montez Ford, really. Montez Ford was the breakout star, really. If Sami Zayn, turned into a main eventer last night, Montez Ford was the breakout star. I know for a long time we've been talking about like a potential um Montez Ford singles run. It may actually got started last night. Like Montez Ford was an absolute star in this match, and definitely I think has a very bright potential singles run. I'll come out and say like the mid card division, it looks very very good, and Triple H has done a fantastic job of reorganizing things. Really, fixing things from what Vince McMahon did wrong. He, of course, not everything is perfect, but he's done a really good job. And when I look at this match, um, and everybody in it, I could see all these men as United States champion. And the one thing I came out of is saying, of course, like even if we do get Cena versus Theory at Mania, I'm not expecting, Cena to win because Cena's not full time anymore, right? He's probably only gonna be there for Mania, and then he has to go back to Hollywood. So if we do get Cena versus Theory, Theory would probably win. I right away after this, I was thinking Montez Ford. You can make a big argument that Montez Ford should be the guy to take down Austin Theory for the United States Championship. I think we really got to start thinking that like Montez Ford, man, he showed out. He showed out last night. And he was incredible. His athleticism, and his strength, just put him on a whole nother level. And he's such a fun. He's so charismatic. He brings energy in everything that he does. The guy's it's such an enjoyable act in the ring. But the match itself started off with Seth Rollins and Gargano, which was fun to see. This is a match I think we would all. I could watch Gargano and Seth Rollins in the best of 7 series if they ever chose to do it. But yeah, they started off the match. Uh, then a little bit, afterwards, Theory came in, right? Theory tried to like kind of reunite with Gargano with the Way, right? Because it was 2-on-1 with Theory being the heel, but Gargano wasn't having any of it. And there was a funny moment where Theory tried to lock himself in the pod, and then Rollins came out the other side of the pod and attacked Theory, and then Gargano and Rollins closed the pod, and the two of them were just beating Theory up, which was kind of cool. Then a little bit afterwards, Damian Priest came in, and he was like a wrecking ball. Very, very powerful doing his thing. Then Bronson Reed came in a little bit afterwards. He was very, very fun. He reminds me a lot of Ryback. A lot like Ryback. He's better. I think he's a little bit better than him, but just the way he does things. He reminds me a lot of Ryback in his prime. Um, then afterwards, Montez Ford came in last, and like I said, he was the guy. One of the best spots of the night was when he climbed the chamber and then did like a Spider-Man move where he was hanging from the chamber and then just came down below. His athleticism is something else. Um, there was another amazing spot. Gargano almost killed himself twice. There was a spot where he did a Hurricane Rana on Bronson Reed, right? Where it looked like almost he was inches from breaking his neck and paralyzing himself. But there was another spot where Gargano from the top of the chamber, Rollins was gonna powerbomb him, right? So you just see Gargano and Rollins chilling on top of one of the pods, fist bumping one another, and then they start fighting. And Rollins was gonna powerbomb Gargano off the chamber, but Gargano reversed into a Hurricane Rana, which was beautiful. Like there was some insane spots in this match. This is why I love the chamber because there's so much cool stuff you can do in it. It took 3 finishers to get Bronson Reed out of there. It was a mix of a super kick, stomp, and then a splash from Montez Ford from the heavens to get Bronson Reed out. I don't remember all the eliminations how they went, but I do remember the final three were Ford, Theory, and Rollins. This is where stuff really picked up. So Ford just goes crazy. He's just on like an adrenaline high, just jumping from sides of the ring, sides of the chamber, taking everybody else, and he does absolute star. He teased. He did a rock bottom, and then he teased doing the people's elbow, but then Theory stopped it. I'm saying, like, Montez Ford's energy and charisma is just unmatched. But then, eventually he ran out of energy. Rollins hit him with a stomp, which looked scary at first. But then you read that was done on purpose. So Rollins hit Montez Ford with a stomp outside the ring onto the chamber. He got pinned, but then Montez Ford was sitting there for like 2-3 minutes. And then, Corey Graves, the way he was talking to commentary, it made you think that, Ford, something was wrong with Ford. Like maybe he got a concussion or something. But it was actually done intentionally because they were trying to set up time for the Logan Paul interference, which makes sense, right? But the way Ford sold it was perfectly because it made you actually think, oh, is he okay? So afterwards, Rollins and Theory are going at it, right? All of a sudden, Rollins, he hits a pedigree on Theory, and then he's setting up for the stomp. But then all of a sudden, you see Logan Paul come out of nowhere. Logan Paul does the Hangman Page clothesline, right, which took Rollins out. And then Theory was able to hit A-Town down for the win and to retain the U.S. Championship. Clearly, of course, it's been reported in the dirt sheet. Rollins and Paul is the plan for WrestleMania, which I think has a chance to be a banger of a match. As much as I do not like Logan Paul personally, I'm not going to sit here and lie. He is a great performer. And it makes perfect sense. Rollins has been talking crap. Even though Rollins is the babyface, Rollins has been talking crap about Logan Paul in recent weeks, ever since Logan eliminated him from the Rumble. So it makes sense for Logan to come out and cost him the U.S. Championship. And if you guys saw WWE's Instagram page, Logan, was talking a hell of a lot of crap to Rollins. Talking about like, oh, he's the YouTuber and I just humiliated your dumb ass. Right. Logan was talking this crap, so it's good. It'll be very interesting to see how Rollins responds on Monday Night Raw. But remember, we have 5-6 weeks to Mania, so they got plenty of time to build this up. But yeah, we'll see how this all leads to Mania. But yeah, they set up Logan and Rollins perfectly, and of course, Theory, the heel, gets out with his championship. We're still hoping Theory versus Cena is the plan for Mania, but we'll see. I expect it for now, but we'll see. We got time to get to Mania. I think it would be really cool on Monday, like say in the main event, Theory wins, and then Cena appears afterwards to challenge Theory at Mania. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But so the chamber match itself was a lot of fun. Very, very cool things. Dog asked thoughts on Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch as the Joker and Batman. So if you guys did see that, they're starting their WrestleMania, Hollywood trailers. They did this back in 2005 for WrestleMania 21. Now they're doing it again for this year. And the one that they did showed on this show was Rollins and Becky Lynch. Becky was basically playing the Batman, and Rollins was playing the Joker. It was WWE theme, right? It was fine. It was fine. Becky's not a bad actor. I don't know if you guys have heard Becky in an American accent, but she has a very, very believable American accent when she uses it. So, like I said, the trailer was fine. It was fun. Seth was very believable as the Joker. He has the hair, he has the look, he has the laugh. So, I think it was great. I don't mind it. It's cool to see. It's cool to see how they finish. How they do these WrestleMania trailers. It's something to have fun with, and it hypes up WrestleMania itself. So, I think it was fine. I had no problem with it. But yeah. And then last but not least, the undisputed Universal Championship match, Sami Zayn versus Roman Reigns. This went almost 30 minutes, I want to say. But yeah, Roman came out first, which was the first thing I noticed right away. Roman almost never comes out first when it's his title match. But Roman did come out first here. But Michael Cole explained it that it's the champion's decision. The champion can decide whether he comes out first, which I never even knew that. But okay, I was just happy we got an explanation for it. But Roman came out first to face the crowd, but the crowd did not bother him at all, even though they were chanting "fuck you, Roman" chants for most of this. And of course, Sami came out on SmackDown the other night. He came back out with his World Apart theme, which was amazing to see how he has that old theme back. The crowd was singing it all night. Seth had his wife, or Sami had his wife at ringside, I believe, with his father as well. So definitely everything, everybody was on Roman's side, or not Roman. Everyone was on Seth's side, or not Seth. Everyone was on Sami's side going into this match. This was great. All right. So basically, the first 3 minutes of the match were just Roman and Sami just staring at each other. Sami was taunting Roman, and Roman was just looking at the ring like, how dare these people disrespect me, right? Then they actually got into it. And this was just masterpiece. I was, and Roman's gotten really, really good in these big matches at drawing things out, right? No matter if it's him talking crap, he's talking crap to the Chicago fans. He was talking, or the Montreal fans. He was talking crap to Sami's wife at ringside multiple times. He was saying, I didn't want this to happen. I wanted to bring you into my family, provide for you, make things better for you. He's the one that betrayed me. He was the one that messed up. So I love how Roman's just talking crap to Sami's family at ringside. The near falls were absolutely perfect. Roman has gotten so good at those near falls, similar to how Cena was in his prime. I read the stat today. Actually, Roman surpassed Cena for most combined days as champion, which is actually crazy. So, Roman's been champion for 2.5 years. Plus, you have to add all his other world title reigns. So it's crazy that Roman's been champion for that long, that he surpassed Cena as a combined days champion. But like I said, Reigns and Cena are so good at 2 or 3 quarters kicking out right at the last second. Love it. Those near falls really made this match special. From everything from Sami doing Superman punches to Roman doing Superman punches, Roman doing the spear, Sami doing the Helluva kick. Sami did the Blue Thunder Bomb, which is one of my favorite moves in the entire sport. I wish he would win with that move more often, because he rarely does, but still, I love it. Everything about this match was just perfection. It was 30 minutes of just perfection. The referee getting taken out, and then the second ref coming in and getting taken out. Then Jimmy Uso coming in, who hit Sami Zayn with 5 super kicks, right, which still wasn't enough. Then Jey Uso coming in, right, and Jey refusing to hit Zayn with the chair. But he wouldn't blast, he also wouldn't hit Roman in the back. But, but still, it looked for a second like Jey was going to do something, because Roman started slapping Jey the same way he slapped Sami Zayn at the Rumble. I mean, that's what caused Sami to lose his shit. So that was great. The other interactions as well. Everything was just done perfectly. Jey not turning on Sami yet, because while Roman and Jey were going at it, Sami tried to spear Roman, and instead he speared Jey instead, which led to Roman hitting one last spear. And remember, Sami did kick out of a spear earlier in the match, which Roman almost always wins with the spear, which was cool to see. But then Roman was able to hit Jay with that last, or hit Sami with that last spear. The ref doing the slow count and Roman retaining the title. And then we basically just the perfection of the crowd going silent. The crowd went silent after Roman hit that spear, because they were just so shocked. Even though you knew that Roman was gonna win, it was still such great storytelling of just the crowd just absolutely just shocked and disappointed that Sami was able to get the job done. But everything about this was done perfection. There's almost nothing I have to complain about. I know some people, like I said, didn't like how the match ended, but you knew Roman was gonna win, so that way the fuck finish basically protects Sami Zayn, at the end of the day. Because remember, Roman was able to hit the spear, or no, Sami hit a haluva kick. Sami hit a second haluva kick on Roman and got the count, but the ref was down. So, it protects Sami. If the ref wasn't taken down, Sami would have been champion. So, everything was done to perfection, in my opinion. Afterwards, Kevin Owens coming out and then taking out the Bloodline, taking out Jimmy and Roman. He even hit Paul Heyman with a stunner that that Heyman sold perfectly. I love how Heyman's hitting KO in the back with these weak punches that have no effect, and then KO just turns around and Heyman's like, "No, I always loved you more. Screw Roman," right? So Heyman being the little weasel that he is, and then KO hitting the stunner on him. And the way Heyman just sold it, he was like, and then went back. That was cool, right? And then KO's about to hit Roman, but he sees Sami, and he allows Sami to hit the haluva kick, and then that was that. KO leaves the ring by staring down Sami, basically setting things up perfectly for them to reunite as a tag team. We've seen them in the past as a heel tag team, and we know that they're best friends and their history together, but now this new layer to it, right? Sami and KO are going to unite, and they're going to go after the Usos and the tag titles at Mania. And like I said earlier, I think if Sami's not going to win the world title and not going to beat Roman at Mania, I think the next best thing would be giving Sami and KO the night one main event. KO main event the night one last year against Stone Cold, which was fantastic. But I think, you should do KO and Sami versus the Usos in the main event of night one for the tag titles. And then, of course, have Roman and Cody main event night two. I think that's that's the perfect way to do this. But but yeah, that's what I figured. But either way, the match was done to perfection. It's a match I'm definitely gonna go back and rewatch. There's so many matches from Roman's title reign, but I think, one thing that's gonna be really fun if Roman loses to Cody at Mania. One thing that's gonna be really fun, I think, would be a really fun video to do, is trying to rank all of Roman's title reigns, or not all of his title reigns, all of his matches from his title reign. Because there's so many. It feels like with every match it gets bigger and better. Like the matches with Seth, the matches with Cena, the matches with Brock, the matches with Logan Paul, right? The match with Sami Zayn, the match with Drew McIntyre, the match with Edge, the match with Daniel Bryan. I feel like that would be so much fun, because this has been such an amazing title reign. It really has. And as much as I didn't like Roman years ago when he was the babyface, when he was the big dog, and believed that, all that nonsense. But I think now, Roman's just elevating himself to a whole nother level where he's just so much more enjoyable. And we really got to recognize the greatness we're seeing. But still, I think it was it was such a fun night, such a good show, and really just amazing stuff. WWE is just on a amazing run right now. It's just so great to see WWE back at this level. You know, this is why Vince. It's so happy that Vince is no longer running creative, because Triple H and his team are just doing amazing jobs. The superstar morale is just off the charts. It's just so much fun to be able to watch Raw and SmackDown and these pay-per-views and just have a good time and enjoy, because this is what wrestling is all about. Last night at the Chamber, that's what wrestling should be. Moments like that, matches like that. It just amazing stuff. And then of course Mercedes versus Kari was like the cherry on top to a really fun wrestling night, and I'm glad I got to enjoy it. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought. What did you guys love from the Chamber? What are you guys looking forward to coming out of the Chamber as the road to WrestleMania continues? Let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comment section down below. Thank you guys for joining me here on the Legit Shoot podcast. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like on this video. Subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. Hit the bell right next to my name, Fitz1 TV, so you guys are notified every time I post a new video. I'm going to get out of here. Stay safe and healthy. I will be back with some more podcast episodes in the coming days. Thank you guys so very much.